What if this isn't just a nightmare scenario, but a calculated strategy already unfolding against us? I grew up in China, but where the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, controls everything. What we say, what we read, what we fear. A place where the system can make people vanish overnight. A journalist, a teacher, a friend who says the wrong thing. I left that behind for a land that promised freedom. Or at least, I thought it did. I'm David Zhang. I spent years investigating the Chinese Communist Party, not from Beijing, but from here in America. My audience has grown to over 1.5 million people who want to understand how China's system of control works. I never imagined that their system could reach our American domains. Recently, a China expert reached out. He told me China's infiltration already touches every single American and that without action, they could overthrow us from within. So, I want to go straight to the source, the expert who had reached out to me, Professor David Zhang. He's one of the world's foremost experts on the Chinese Communist Party, with over 2 decades of research, best-selling books, and over 700,000 subscribers on YouTube. During our meeting, he pointed to a critical figure, Wang Huning, a member of the CCP's Politburo Standing Committee, the group of just 7 men who hold the highest power in China.
He's actually the mastermind behind 3 generations of CCP leaders.
Really?
Yeah, he has been plotting against America for decades. He came here like 40 years ago. In 1989, he observed this society and he felt that he had found the weakness of America. Cultural decay, breakdown of shared values, and also the internal division.
So all the things happening right now.
Right, so not only that, but the problem is he feels like this is something he can make use of. So he wrote a book in 1989. It is called America Against America.
Oh, wow, that's a big title.
And now he has developed this philosophy into a very systematic scheme, and he set it in motion. American people are not aware of it. It's right like the night before September 11, and they still feel like they are living in a peaceful world. I know you are a great China analyst, and I think that you can be a great investigator. And I will open the door for you to some insiders, so that you know what they're really plotting on, and whether it is too late for us to react.
America against America. It reminds me of 2 Chinese military colonels who in 1999 pushed the idea even further in their book, Unrestricted Warfare. In their view, the battlefield has shifted. Wars were no longer just fought with armies, but across every domain. Side by side, they seem to map a terrifying blueprint. The chief strategist of the CCP diagnosed America's weaknesses. The colonels laid out how those very weaknesses could be weaponized in a war without limits.
What you see is what we call a whole-of-society approach. China gets well past its own intelligence services, the Ministry of State Security and the PLA. They tell society, you are responsible for providing us intelligence. If we ask you, you've got to give it to us, and you can't be deceptive, and you must pass this over to us.
要是你不替我们偷过来，你在中国的亲人就会有麻烦。
So, like it or not, wherever you are in China or worldwide, if you have a company, if you're in a state-owned enterprise, the Chinese government can call on you to give them information, and they do. They wind up turning their whole society into a collection mechanism.
You're here later than the cleaning crew.
Just running late-night tests.
If the person gets caught, well, China doesn't care. You know, China's sitting behind a wall.
Infiltration isn't improvised, it's orchestrated. So what's the playbook here? To get an insider's perspective on how this system truly operates and how it affects us, I sat down with Jennifer Zhang, a veteran journalist who once worked within one of China's top government think tanks.
United Front was regarded as one of the 3 magic weapons that helped the CCP to gain their power. It just means to work with anybody, even somebody within your enemy. So they use this kind of tactics actually to infiltrate.
Elmi, why did you ask for this meeting? Our values could not be more different.
Well, interests can align. In the end, we do share some common goals of power, don't we?
There are always people, politicians, who can be bought over with money. They are corrupting the society from within.
The theory is you join with other organizations and sway them and pull them into supporting the objectives of the Chinese Communist Party.
Whether it's on college campuses, whether it's in corporate boardrooms, whether it's in professional associations, whether it's in think tanks in Washington, D.C., or whether it's even in some of our government institutions.
So you effectively have nonprofit organizations willing to work for China at the direction of the United Front Work Department. Last my count was 770-something of those associations in the United States.
And finally, a sincere thank you to our generous sponsor, Mr. Liu, and the Harmony Asia Foundation.
For the top stories and more.
The top stories and more.
Could you give us some examples on how the CCP uses media to control America?
Before the CCP's 20th Congress in 2022, Xi Jinping convened a meeting of the party's Political and Legal Affairs Commission. The theme of this meeting was to discuss a new phase of the CCP's campaign against Falun Gong abroad. They concluded that direct propaganda against Falun Gong wasn't working. So Xi approved a new strategy, a comprehensive infiltration of American mainstream media.
Why does the CCP single out and target Falun Gong in particular?
In the struggle for freedom, rule of law, and human rights in the 21st century, one of the most touching chapters is the peaceful resistance of Falun Gong practitioners against the CCP's tyranny. To the CCP, this resistance is a deadly threat to its political rule. They fear the truth. That's why leader after leader within the CCP have mobilized the full power of the state to crush it. A central task is to target the founder of Falun Gong. Then, using mainstream media as their proxy voices, to attack Falun Gong under the guise of Western journalism. By 2024, their groundwork was largely complete, paving the way for legal and media warfare in America.
Okay, I need to piece this all together. When I step back and look at everything together, a structure starts to emerge. First, control the narrative, silence critics, then marching through the institutions, and finally, turn that access into leverage, weaken the system it's targeting, not through one attack, but through pressure, layer by layer.
The CCP isn't yet ready to launch a so-called hot war. But that doesn't mean there aren't proxy wars already happening. For example, Hamas' surprise attack on Israel. Behind it, you can hear echoes of the CCP. That's beyond doubt. The same with the war in Ukraine. Without China's support, it likely couldn't have lasted this long. Through these kinds of proxy conflicts, Beijing diverts America's attention, keeping the U.S. busy and too distracted and exhausted to confront the CCP directly.
The picture became clearer during a meeting with EU officials when China's foreign ministry stated that it does not want to see Russia lose the war against Ukraine. That confession echoes a line straight out of Unrestricted Warfare. The colonels described it as killing with a borrowed knife, weakening an enemy through a third party.
The Chinese Communist Party has basically already lined up with the enemies of Israel and is actually funding and supporting Iran, the main source of support for 3 proxy terrorist organizations that are at war with Israel.
Unrestricted warfare sometimes looks like business as usual. Wang Huning warned that America's prosperity rests on consumerism, a system vulnerable if its manufacturing base is hollowed out and jobs vanish overseas. The colonels in Unrestricted Warfare wrote, "In the future, financial weapons will be among the most important weapons of war. In their vision, nothing is off limits. Entrapping countries in debt, trade wars, controlling key industries, currency manipulation, and even globalization itself. How much of the world around us has already been shaped by these tactics?"
87% of the counterfeit products that come into the United States come from China. And that is a $1.77 trillion a year business. More than twice, almost 3 times the global drug trade. That translates to American jobs, getting inferior products in, on airplanes, on cars. The World Health Organization says over 1 million people die annually from fake drugs. So can the Chinese government clamp down on these things? Absolutely. Do they choose to? Absolutely not. Because this is a means of unrestricted warfare. And that's what we face on a massive scale.
Fentanyl poisoning is now the leading cause of death in the United States for people under the age of 45.
Congressman Richie Torres saying up to 97% of the chemicals needed for fentanyl are coming directly from China.
Okay, we've arrived in the sunny and beautiful Tampa Bay area of Florida. Here, unfortunately, in 2025, the DEA says that they seized 177 million lethal doses of fentanyl. Every link in the chain, from the chemical plants in China to the border seizures in Mexico, seems to point to a system that has been operating with precision, not coincidence. Reading all the facts and hearing all the stories, bringing the pieces together has been harder than I imagined. To realize that Wang Huning once wrote about how drugs could weaken America, and to see that the CCP's military thinkers later classified drug warfare as a legitimate tactic is deeply disturbing. And it makes me heavy-hearted that we have not done more to stop their advance. After comparing the evidence with America against America and unrestricted warfare, one conclusion emerges. According to these sources, the CCP strategy is deliberate. When I step back and look at it all together, it feels like an attack coming from every direction. Politically, interference in elections and surveillance of our lawmakers. Economically, pushing dependence, dumping cheap products, and hollowing out our middle class. Militarily, infiltrating infrastructure, buying land near bases, embedding chips in our weapons. Socially, monitoring us, flooding the country with fentanyl, and shaping narratives through media and legal warfare. None of this appears random. Taken together, the pieces suggest a broader pattern. It reflects a sustained, coordinated campaign conducted across multiple fronts. A campaign that corrodes truth and undermines those who seek to expose it. Where persuasion fails, deception becomes the tool. Where inspiration falls short, influence takes its place. Yet light is stronger than the shadows it reveals. And that light begins with you.
If I was going to give a message to the American public, it would be that this is not going away, and defense doesn't work. There's no incentive in place for China to stop any of this behavior. A strategy can't be just the FBI or the Defense Department, it's got to be everybody. Without our own whole of society approach, and that means state governments, local governments, critical infrastructure, without those people understanding and responding to this, we're going to have a different type of country in the next 10 or 15 years, a type of country you probably won't want to raise your kids in.
What are we going to do about it? Because this isn't someone else's problem anymore. This is here. This is now. And whether you're a parent, a policymaker, a teacher, or a CEO, what happens next depends on you. Every one of us have the power to act. For example, we can delete Chinese apps, replace Chinese-made tech, routers, phones, computers, EVs. Pay attention to politicians or media figures who praise the CCP. Report suspicious foreign influence to the FBI. Protect our supply chains. Defend American intellectual property. Block CCP-linked lawfare and intimidation. Teach the reality of communism early, clearly, and honestly. and rebuild our own industrial strength. This is how a free society defends itself.
Well, first and foremost, the average American can pay attention to their elected leaders. Are they aware of the overall threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party? Are they talking about it?
The threat that we face from the Communist Party of China today is one like no other, and we need to wake up to that and push back in ways that save America, but really save the world, and perhaps ultimately the people of China.
We never expected that it would take us to today. It's hard, it's tiring, but you get to travel the world. You get to go to places that most people only dream of going to. You get to see people's eyes kind of sparkle, and everybody in the theater is just in awe.
I wanted to put all of it into dance, but never would I have imagined what battle I joined.
A series of threats targeting performances by Shen
Got threats to shoot up the performance.
Hey, buddy. You guys are okay? I knew my boys were giving a voice to those who couldn't speak out. And just for that, there are people who would come after them.
We've just gotten confirmation from the Kennedy Center that it was a bomb threat.
Who would go so far to threaten their lives?
Lovely job, guys.
I never imagined my boys would become a target of the most ruthless totalitarian regime on Earth.
Through Shen Yun, through this performance, we take this story that has been covered up by the Chinese Communist Party, has sometimes been covered up by Western press, and we put it on stage at the Kennedy Center, at the Lincoln Center, in front of congressmen and parliament members in Europe, and we tell them, this is what's happening in China right now.
For thousands of years, Chinese civilization was deeply connected to the divine. This tradition continues today, with millions of people practicing the meditation discipline called Falun Dafa. But under China's communist regime, they're being persecuted for their faith.
A big thing we show in the show is how, no matter how hard or how much they get oppressed, the goodness will always come out upon the evil. You know, when they see all these beautiful values being portrayed, it touches their soul.
It was absolutely extraordinary.
The beauty of divine beings performing, that's exactly what we saw on stage.
You think of the plight of the practitioners in China who are being tortured. Who would have thought that after that the whole world would be covered with these troops?
FBI caught them in a sting operation. The spy was trying to bribe what he thought was an IRS official to try to revoke Shen Yun's nonprofit status. The CCP, this whole time, trying to stop us, trying to cancel shows, trying to block advertising.
The Chinese diplomat visiting the Public Library of Lima, Peru. He is telling the audience not to go see a dance show called Shen Yun.
The Chinese embassy and delegation was actually pressuring the theater.
Whenever you have a group of people who trace their heritage to China, who do not directly owe their allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party, that is a severe threat to the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist Party because it is an alternative narrative, a narrative rooted in history and truth.
Beijing sees it as an attack because Shen Yun is saying, no, take a look at it, because that's what China was before communism.
They understand that the major threat to their regime is not economic. It is for what they used to call the hearts and minds of people. They see that as the sort of center of gravity under which their regime could be in trouble.
Got about 140 at this point cases with evidence of the Chinese Communist Party going after Shen Yun. This is a tire slash in Costa Mesa, California. This is not a normal cut. This was done specifically with the purpose of the tire exploding on the highway. Talking about a bus with 40 performers on it. This is very much an attempt on people's lives, in my opinion. This is not an isolated incident. This is a graph we made of the number of death threats we received targeting Shenyang and Falun Gong by month, starting from 6 in March of last year, and then when tour started, 22 in February. February 27th, 2025, this was an email simultaneously sent to Shenyang headquarters, to faith and schools. Children of American Falun Gong members under the age of 10 will be kidnapped, taken to high-rise buildings in the United States, and pushed down from the top. It's particularly hard for me to read because I have 2 young daughters at home.
Daddy, remember that time when we were reading the Pin May story?
Yep. It hits close to home. When you read the message, we're going to throw them off a building after they were gang raped, that creates an image in your mind. And you see that image and you think about your...
It looks like the Taiwanese authorities have traced these back to China.
I think it's the Criminal Investigation Bureau, that's the Taiwanese police apparatus. And it particularly, it was right around the area of Huawei Research Center.
Up until that point, we didn't really have a smoking gun kind of evidence. We now had the hard evidence. And if you think about it, what is this? This is threatening terrorist attacks.
Social media platform X has removed thousands of accounts linked to the Chinese Communist Party, amplifying New York Times articles targeting Shenyang Performing Arts.
It's clear now that the CCP has found a way to leverage some of the biggest media voices in the United States. What was the plan that triggered all of this? Oh, wow, Then Peter connected me with a source, a former Beijing University law professor who has deep ties to high-level Chinese Communist Party officials. He then went on to tell us about what had happened at the top levels of the regime.
Before the CCP's 20th Congress in 2022, Chinese Communist leader Xi Jinping brought up a plan to target Shenyang and Falun Gong in the U.S. Xi Jinping emphasized one particular point. He calls it to procure grain from the enemy. That is, to use the enemy's own resources, in this case, the Western democracy's resources, to strike Falun Gong. Xi Jinping's main focus was to launch a media war and a legal war. He wants to target especially major Western media outlets with real influence and make them part of the United Front works.
That really kind of blew this wide open. Okay, this is a coordinated campaign.